Welcome. Welcome to Introduction to World Religions. My name is Larry Terkel, Professor Lawrence Terkel. On the board here, there are some contact information. You'll also find some of this on the syllabus itself. My email address, lterkel@kent.edu. My phone number. This is my cell phone. If you have burning questions or need to get in touch with me, feel free to text me. Text, quite honestly, with me, text is more immediate than emails. I'm not one of those that just are constantly looking at my email to see who might be contacting me. So you might as well know that. If it's important, my cell phone, text, or even call me. It's okay. Also on the board here, some background information. I have a website, larryterkel.com. You'll find some information about me there. I have a YouTube channel. If you look up Larry Terkel on YouTube, you will find in particular a lot of yoga videos. You'll see some swimming videos too. Ignore those. I am a competitive swimmer. I'm a master swimmer. I'm the senior Olympic gold medalist for the 70 to 74 age bracket. And I didn't post those videos. They show up. They tape these big meets. These are national meets, and somehow YouTube makes a connection between my name and my channel, and I haven't figured out how to take them down. So just know that about YouTube. secretstomeditation.com. I have written a number of books. The two main ones are over here. A book called How to Meditate, Secrets to the Easiest and Most Effective Meditation Technique, and another book called Small Change. Small Change is actually my bestseller. Small Change came out back in the early 2000s, had a great run in front of Barnes & Noble for 3 years. It has come out over here. You can see some foreign copies. It has come out in Korea, Japan, France, Italy. It had a nice run. So that's part of what you'll learn on some of the websites. Secrets to Meditation backs up the How to Meditate book. I'm also involved. I have an organization in Hudson, Ohio called the Spiritual Life Society. The Spiritual Life Society is an interdenominational church where everyone is welcome, and it's also where I teach yoga. It is the little white church on the town square in Hudson, for those of you familiar with Hudson, right on the corner of 303 and 91. I have owned that church since 1978, so and it has been our center. I am the licensed minister of the Spiritual Life Society. Today, a big part of today's lecture is to get to know me a little bit, introduction to the course, expectations. We'll look at the syllabus, and I can't wait to meet each and every one of you. So spirituallifesociety.com is a website. I perform a lot of weddings. That's got some information on that. Om.org, the phonetic spelling of Om, aum.org, is the yoga classes at our center. And so just, that's a bunch of the information. Also, the books, you'll also see a yoga book here. This is a yoga book that I did back in 1982. And actually next to it is the Russian version that came out in the Soviet Union right at the time that the Soviet Union was breaking apart and joining the rest of the world. The Berlin Wall came down, and an amazing time in the 1980s. So let's Let's turn to the syllabus. You all have one. I emailed it to you, so it might be nice to have it there while we go through it. The purpose of the course. This is Intro to World Religions. So know this. It hasn't even been that long that we have been able to teach religion in a secular university. It wasn't until the 1960s, actually a professor by the name of Ninian Smart out at the University of California pioneered the study of religion in a university funded partially by the government. We have separation of church and state. Religion was basically only found as a course in seminary, in private institutions that were sponsored by or supported by specific religions. We're going to be looking at religion. We're going to be looking at what people believe. Here's the deal. This class is not about what you should believe. We are studying belief. We are looking at belief. I have chosen in my sections to look at the 5 major religions. The 5 big ones. We're going to look in this order at Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These are the ones you're likely to encounter in your life. Many of you, depending on what your major is. If you're in education, you are likely to have students from one or many of these religions. If you are in business and you get involved in international business, you will be dealing with people of these religious persuasions. Nurses, healthcare, dealing with the public in just about any career that involves the public. It is really helpful to understand where people are coming from, what they believe, why they believe it. So this is not a class that is going to cover 35 religions and get into all of the minor, sometimes even weird manifestations of religion. We're going to home in on the 5 big ones and go a little deeper than perhaps just a regular survey class would go through. So, but even more so, even more than just what these religions say, we're really going to be looking at what it means to you, what they're saying to you, what you can learn from them, why people believe these things, what you choose to believe, how you choose to live your life. We can't look at religion without looking at ways of life. This is what this class is about. Ultimately, who are you? Who do you want to be in this life? Who do you want to become in this life? What is this life all about? What is the purpose? What is the meaning? That's what this class is about. Now, there's a disclaimer here, because I also want to give you a warning. Look, many of you have religious backgrounds. You have been raised in a religious background. And perhaps you have been taught that that's the truth. That that's what everyone should believe. Now, I just have to tell you, this may get uncomfortable. You're going to find out that others do not believe what you believe. And you are going to learn that they believe what they believe for very good reasons. So I caution you, to the extent that you are attached, to the extent that you are closed-minded and do not want to hear what anyone else believes, this class is not for you. You still have time. Know that. This class requires open-mindedness, respect. We're going to look at these beliefs and look at these religions with the utmost respect. Know this. Know this going in. I need you to know this. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me. There's plenty. This class has been full for quite a while. If you're honest, if you would like to withdraw, that would give someone else a chance to get in. I believe that this is the only in-person, I have 2 sections, the only in-person class this semester. So let someone in. Don't drop it 3 weeks from now because you're getting uncomfortable. Let someone else have the opportunity. So that's what it's about. Now, there are no required textbooks. Listed on the syllabus are 5 books. You'll see them up here. 5 introduction to religion books, each one on a different religion. I used to require them. That used to be what I taught. This is kind of how the class originated a number of years ago. But I've gone away from it. First of all, I don't love everything in those books. Secondly, I add a lot more than is in those books. Thirdly, in so many instances in this class, I don't really want you reading about what the religion says or about what the religious texts of that religion says. I want you to read the texts. I want you to read the original sources. We will be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Old and New Testament, from the Quran. We will be watching videos, stories, teachings of the Buddha, of his life. We're going to the source as much as we can. Now, at the same time, I kind of use these books as a guide. It's kind of the structure of the class. So if you're overly ambitious and you want to pick some up, that's why I listed them here. But this class doesn't require an additional investment. But let me tell you what investment this class does require. It requires your time. This is a class in which attendance is necessary. Attendance. I need you to let me teach you. It's not book-oriented. It's not PowerPoint or I am low-tech. Know that. This is a low-tech class. I'm recording this. It's as technological as I'd like to be. I write on the board. I don't look at a lot of notes. One lecture for one section may not be the same lecture as the other section. They're close, same topics. You may ask me a question. I love questions. So it's not a pre-programmed class. This is more of a discussion and an experience. You'll get stories from me, my interactions with these religions, and I have many. I'll explain that a little later in this lecture. I need you to get to know me a little better. So, it requires your time. It requires showing up to see what happens in that lecture, to take your notes, to experience it. Now, there is a class requirement that requires you to come anyway, because the basic setup in this class is that I work through quizzes. The grading side for me I hate that side. But I work through quizzes. Quizzes. Every Thursday. It's 50% of the class has a quiz in it. It's every Thursday. It's a short quiz. 5 questions. Short fill in the blank, multiple choice on the last few lectures or anything preceding it. Look, it's my way of keeping you up to date. It's my way of keeping it fresh. We don't learn things unless we visit them often. How many times do we touch a fact? That's what really begins to burn it into our memory. There will be readings or videos, homework. There is homework for the next video lecture. The homework is up here. We're going to be looking in the next class at what is religion. That's just a question. That's an open-ended question. I'd like you to think about that. What is religion to you? If you had to describe religion to someone, what would you tell them religion was in general? What do they have in common? That's a question to think about. And then there are 3 YouTube videos. A couple of teachers I'd like you to meet. We'll talk about them in the next lecture. The idea is, visit them. Look, the homework for the most part will be the first time you encounter a teaching. I don't expect you to learn it from these videos or the readings I give you. In fact, you're likely to be confused the first time you encounter it. But familiarizing yourself so that then when you come to the lecture and I explain it, it will begin to make sense. And you will take notes on it. And then you will review your notes for the next quiz. And these are the multiple ways in which we touch the important things I'd like you to learn in this class. So, the homework, never more than an hour. Hopefully fun. Classes, being here to receive it personally. You people pay a lot of money for each class. As much money as you would pay for a music concert. I don't think you'd let a music concert ticket go to waste. I'd like you to think of these classes the same way. Come, want to come. So that's really the single biggest requirement. You cannot pass this class by just doing this reading. You can't. You can pass the class. Okay, there it is. We had just had a momentary blackout. I hope, I don't know if.
Motion sent.
It's, yeah. I'm in the classroom we're going to be using, and I guess not moving around means that the lights go off. So anyway, hopefully that didn't throw anyone off. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to edit it out. I don't know that I want to bother to edit it out, so apologize for that. Let's get back to it. You can't pass the course just doing the readings. You can pass the course without reading these books. You probably pass it without doing the homework, but that you won't do as well. That I can promise you. You need to come to class. Now, in the context of this suggestion, this teaching, let me give you your first religious teaching. A teaching that many of you have received, but perhaps did not realize the wisdom in it. So, one of my sections is at 9:15 a.m. The other is at 11. I'm speaking in particular to the 9:15 group, but it relates to the 11 o'clock group anyway. In fact, it relates to the rest of your life. What is this teaching? This teaching, this religious teaching, comes from Genesis 1 in the Hebrew Bible. Genesis 1, the creation story. What does it say? It's a famous line. And God said, "Let there be light." And then it says, "And it was evening and it was morning, the first day." This is the key phrase that I want to call your attention to. First of all, you are going to learn when we get to Judaism that Jews take that seriously. In the Jewish tradition, days start at sundown. The Sabbath starts at sundown on Friday night and runs till sundown on Saturday night. We'll get to the details on that. Why? Because it was evening and it was morning the first day. Also, there's a technical take on that really, who knows when the day starts if the day starts at midnight? There's no cosmic confirmation. You know when the sun goes down. You know when the sun comes up. You don't really know what's in the middle, especially back in ancient times. So kind of just, keep that in the back of your mind. But there's wisdom in this teaching. What is the wisdom? If you have trouble getting to the 9:15 a.m. class, it's not what time you get up in the morning. It's what time you went to bed. That's the teaching. You're already behind the 8 ball. If you stay up too late, if you sleep, if you oversleep and sleep past the alarm, understand the wisdom in that. No matter what time you have to work in the morning, adjust your day accordingly and understand when it starts. It starts the night before. That's the setup. Pay attention to that. Understand the wisdom in that. That's how you can get to my class. Important. As we turn back to the syllabus, so this is class participation. This is a course requirement. The first thing I basically listed is the readings that'll be assigned, the class participation, the weekly quiz. Now, here's the deal with the weekly quiz. There are going to be roughly 11 weekly quizzes. If you take a look, normally I would have one every week, and here we're doing 4 lectures on tape. So I'm gonna, when we first get to our first quiz, I'm gonna make it a double. I wrote in the schedule 2 quizzes. There'll be 2 5-point quizzes because it will cover literally 5 lectures. And I will consider them 2 quizzes, 5 and 5. And here's why that's important. Why that's important is because we will be taking 11 quizzes in this class. They will count for 50% of your grade. 11 quizzes. I'm going to drop your worst 2. Know that. Anyone can have a bad day. Don't want to put that much pressure. These quizzes are a piece of cake if you keep up with the readings, the notes, you review the notes, and you've been to class. Secret to this class. But things come up. We're flexible. Going to drop your worst 2. We're going to take 9 quizzes, average them, and consider that your 50% of your grade. Okay, we just had a technical glitch. There was a little break in the video, it accidentally turned off. I was talking about the quizzes. The quizzes. I'm going to drop your worst 2 quizzes. Now, we're dealing with coronavirus this semester. Clearly, I will need to be lenient on some of those issues if you're quarantined. First of all, it's going to be up to you. Make sure you make contact with someone in the class so that you can get a hold of the notes. You may miss a quiz because of that. For those that get involved in legitimate issues of missing quizzes, may just drop your worst 2 out of 9 or whatever. So we will look at that. It's not a hard and fast rule. The idea is to get a handle on how you've done on the quizzes and how much you're retaining. You're going to need it at the end anyway. There will be a final exam. Let's just go back down here. The next is the final exam. The final exam, because we're going remote again at the end of the semester, will be a remote exam. Effectively, it makes it a take-home. I'm not dealing with those proctor programs. It's going to depend on how good your notes are. Integrity is going to be important, that you are using your notes and not collaborating with other students. Similar answers will get you into trouble. There'll be more about that when we get there. There will be a 30-question final exam and each question has multiple parts. It's like probably 60 or 70 questions, and so those 30 questions at basically 1 point apiece will be your final exam. And there will be a 5-point essay, an essay that will also be at the end of the semester that you can use your notes for. And then there will be 15 points. If you look at this breakdown here, you will see that there will be 15% for class participation. That's my discretionary factor. We'll see how that plays. All subject to change. These are flexible times, and we will do our best with it. So that gives you a basic idea of how we're going to be grading. Again, there's another incentive there asking you to attend all classes, and then comes our basic class schedule. You will see that in general we will spend 3 weeks, 6 lectures on Hinduism, 6 lectures on Buddhism, 6 lectures on Judaism. That's partly because the first 2 lectures of Judaism are basic to both, to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They share parts of the same story, which will be the first 2 lectures. We'll get into the specifics of Judaism. 4 lectures, 2 weeks on Christianity, and I'm sorry to say that since the last 2 weeks are after spring break and we won't be coming back, the Islam lectures will be remote again. So that is basically the schedule. The not so fine print is that we are going to need to stay flexible, and then you see things about the fine print, the requirements that this course meets, the whatever else is required, the dates on when to withdraw with a W and not an F, and the date to withdraw so that you can allow someone else to get into this class. So you'll see some of those in the fine print as well. That's the syllabus. That's the class setup. Hopefully when we see each other, feel free to email me with any questions. I'm happy to answer them. As we turn to, I want to spend the rest of this lecture letting you get to know me. But there's a teaching, another teaching. I already gave you one religious teaching so far. And the teaching has to do with knowing who you're learning from. And this is a particularly sensitive issue when it comes to religion. So it's an issue, and the issue is called scholar versus devotee. Scholar versus devotee. It is asking you to pay attention to who your teacher is, where your teacher is coming from. You see, especially when it comes to religion, it's nice to know that just about any teacher or class that you take, you're learning from an expert. That's always good to know. But there's this interesting question in religion. There are experts on religion, scholars who have studied religion, who have read the texts, who have mastered the facts. They can teach you something. There are also those who have lived the religion, who believe in the religion, devotees of the religion. And you will be learning something slightly different from them. You are likely to learn what it feels like. You're likely to learn about their experience of their religion. Here at Kent State, there are many sections on religion. Some are taught by a Jewish rabbi, Christian minister. They're great, by the way. They're great. They're great teachers. But there are slight differences. You can expect when you're learning from a devotee of a specific religion that clearly there's a reason why they are choosing to follow that one. Is there a hidden bias? Is there an excitement that comes through? This is what you get when you learn from a devotee. And then the question becomes, when a devotee of one religion is teaching you about other religions, what is the agenda there? Are they scholars? Have they experienced these interesting issues? Very interesting. So to know where I'm coming from, I need to tell you a story. You get stories in my class. This is part of the experience. Get used to it. Periodically we stop and I tell you a story. The story is about me at your age. When I was your age, most of you, 19 years old, I was 19 years old. I was a student. I went to Cornell University. At Cornell University, I was studying engineering. I have a bachelor's in engineering from Cornell University. I stayed at Cornell University and received my master's in business administration at Cornell University. And I'll leave it there for a moment. We'll come back and pick up the timeline in a moment. I want to go back to 19 years old. Christmas vacation. It was my sophomore year. I went home and my life changed. My life changed dramatically. The rug was pulled out from under me. I learned I was adopted. I learned at 19 years old that I was adopted. It was a surprise. By the way, it shouldn't have been a surprise. It's kind of what's funny about it. This is not a story about higher consciousness. I was raised in a family. I was raised in a Jewish family. Part of the background we're looking at here. I'm 6'1". My mother was 4'11" and my father was 5'5". They had to sit me down for all the family pictures. I should have known. You'd think I would have known. But you asked me, so why didn't I know? Why didn't my parents tell me? And you have to go back. I'm old. Back in the time, the in system was that she was told to read me a book. She read me a book. I happen to have it with me. The book is called The Chosen Baby. Chosen Baby. This was my favorite bedtime reading. The idea is that instead of telling someone they're adopted, flat out, that they were rejected by someone else, stresses the positive. I was chosen. My parents chose me. Now, you got to put this in some perspective. What 5-year-old knows where babies come from anyway? I thought everyone was chosen. It was a great story. I like to joke, great book for teaching a child self-esteem. I felt wanted. I felt great. Adopted, right over my head. I've reread it. It actually does use the word, but it really minimizes it. It stresses the word chosen. My mother read me this book. It was my favorite bedtime reading. As far as it really got. I'm 19. We have to get passports because the next summer the family was going to be traveling outside the country. There were passport offices back then. We go to the passport office. My father gets the birth certificates out of the bank deposit vault. And the thing is that when you're adopted, what happens is the court, you have an original birth certificate from your birth mother. The court seals that away and issues another birth certificate with your adopted parents' names on it. My father never looked that closely at it. Thought when they changed the names to he and my mother, my adopted mother, that they changed the place of birth as well. Never really looked that closely. We're in the passport office. It's my turn. The clerk says, it looks at my birth certificate, which has been handed to him, and says to me, "Where were you born?" I said, "Cleveland, Ohio." That's what my father had told me. The clerk looked down at the certificate and said, "Why does this say Memphis, Tennessee?" And I kid you not. In that moment, my very first thought, at 6'1", standing with my family, chosen meant adopted. That's when I got it. That just hit me like a flash. I realized what it was saying to me. My mother had gone on. Part of the background story is that my mother had had like 5 miscarriages. She had gone on. She hadn't adopted me. It removed a lot of the pressure. She had her child. She went on to have my sister and then ultimately my brother. I have a younger sister and another younger brother. They all look alike. They're all about the same height. Then there's me. My sister's sitting there in the passport office saying, "Why was he born in Memphis? Is that where you were stationed in the war?" So that my mother couldn't get out of there fast enough. We go home. Now, this is the second part of the story. I was raised in a family in which my grandfather lived with us. It was a 3-generation household. He had passed away a year earlier. I was 18. It was like losing a second father. He had an impact in my life. You're likely to hear some of those stories later. I sat down with my mother. We had our talks in the kitchen. We sat down. She said to me, "I thought you knew. I read you that book." I said, "Mom, I never got it. I never got it." And then her way of letting me down easy was to let me know she too was adopted. That father, that grandfather, her father that lived with us, wasn't really her father. Time out for 1 second. Does it say? There's a red. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. I'm just checking the camera for a moment. There's something red. I hope it doesn't say standby. I'm looking at it.
Still recording.
Still recording? Okay. Sorry about that break. The rug was pulled out from under me. Everything I thought was real was an illusion. I had to go back to Cornell University. And I was full of questions. Who was I really? One of my biggest questions. What was religion? How do I know what I was? Is religion something you're born into or something you choose? What I felt, important to know, very fortunate. Some adoptees dwell on the rejection. This is the purpose behind the book. They can't get over the fact that they were rejected. It's somehow evidence of being damaged goods. That was not my issue. I felt great. I had a great childhood. I ended up in a very fortunate situation. My parents loved me. But I couldn't help asking, why? Did God have something to do with this? Was there a meaning behind it? What was I supposed to do with this information? And it set me on a journey. It set me on a journey to try and discover who I really was. It set me on a journey that took me to India on a one-way ticket in 1970. I'm a product of the 60s. You're going to hear more about that. Notice that one of the videos is called The Woodstock Guru. We're going to talk about the 60s in the next lecture. The impact it had on me. It'll be a great introduction to Hinduism. I have, getting back to this question of scholar versus devotee, I have experience with every one of the religions we are going to be working with. I have had personal teachers in each and every one of them. Mentors to me. Personal experiences of each and every one of the religions. I am both. Not from just one. I founded an organization called the Spiritual Life Society. Note, it's not the Religious Life Society. It's the spirituality that they have in common. It is a place where everyone is welcome. Let me just tell you, there are multiple stories off of this story. Ultimately, who did I decide I was? This is just a little quip for the purposes of this class. I learned I was born Methodist. I was adopted and raised in a Jewish family. I have found my natural mother. I am part Scotch-Irish and part Cherokee Indian. I hold a master's in comparative religion, which I got here at Kent State University. I sat in those seats. This freaks me out. I don't mind telling you, to be standing here teaching to the chairs and the seats and students that I remember like it was yesterday. I came back from India wanting to learn more about what I had experienced, which allows me to teach this class. Took me to found the Spiritual Life Society. It has taken me to understand what has taken me a lifetime to experience. What's behind it all? What do they have in common? What are they trying to teach us? It's the setup for this class. This class is my journey. My journey through the 5 religions we're going to study. My experience of them and my knowledge of them. So, buckle your seatbelts. We're going to, this is the basic plan. You have homework for the next lecture. So the first 4 lectures are on tape, but it's important to keep the sequence. I would like you to watch these videos before the next lecture so that when I talk about these people, you'll know who I'm talking about. That is one of the goals. So next video, we're going to look at what is religion itself. This is the question. And then we're going to begin a little introduction into Hinduism. And we'll get more into Hinduism in lectures 3 and 4. So, look, if there was a message in this class, again, if this class is not for you, help another student out. Drop it while someone else can get in. There are people waiting. Otherwise, I look forward to a great semester with you guys. I have loved teaching. This is a retirement gig for me. I have not been a professor. I've been doing this for about 8 years here. Many students now, many sections. I love it. I hope you will too. Welcome to Introduction to World Religions. Have a great day.